you ever heard a lie so unrealistic that it seems improbable someone would actually use it? So improbable that you start wondering maybe you're missing something.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the strangest manipulative techniques used by cults and other extreme organizations to lure in new members and entrap them.
You don't know about that when you're in Scientology until you reach a certain level. Like, you have to receive a certain amount of training and counseling, and it can take years.
Number 10. Deceptive recruitment.
You didn't see anybody suffering from any of those things? Nobody collapsing, nobody vomiting, no one having trouble breathing, nobody hallucinating or foaming?
I didn't see any of those things. Those things were happening outside the lodge, and again, as I've said...
Cult leaders know that they won't get very far by asking potential recruits outright, would you like to join a cult? For that reason, they often use a more subtle approach, hiding their true intentions behind a more enticing facade. The cult may be presented as a multi-level marketing opportunity like Nixium, a spiritual awakening retreat, such as the tragic one hosted by James Arthur Ray, or even just a friendly group of like-minded people. Newcomers only become aware of the true nature of such groups once they are already involved, but by then, it's usually too late.
Well, I didn't know, nor did anyone know, that anyone was in a life or death situation.
Number 9. Picking the right target.
College students in particular are really good targets for abusive groups, for any kind of group that exercises coercive control.
Many people might look at cult members with derision, convinced that they could never be so ensnared themselves. However, research has shown that most individuals can be lured in under the right circumstances, and the cult leaders know this as well. They often prey on those who are stressed, emotionally vulnerable, have low self-esteem, or lack strong family ties, and are seeking a sense of belonging.
As a child, I was raised to die, tortured to death in the name of Jesus, and I was one of the lucky ones and should be thankful for that.
Sometimes even those who don't necessarily fit into these categories can be susceptible, like freshman college students who are still trying to find their own identity. When all of these factors align, even seemingly average individuals can be easily deceived and recruited by cults.
People always think cult members are very gullible people.
That they're stupid.
Personnes assez faibles.
Like they're looking to fill a hole in their life.
And that's absolutely not the case.
Number 8. Love bombing.
I think what attracted India to the group was the sense of unified purpose.
Once recruiters have identified a potential new convert, the next step typically involves bombarding that person with affection, flattery, and attention. This process is known as love bombing, coined in the 1970s by members of the Unification Church, which itself has been described as a cult. This manipulative tool ensures that recruits feel welcome and immediately associate the group with love and acceptance.
Whenever Sun Myung Moon needed my parents for some kind of mission or anything, they had to put the cult leaders' needs before their children's. Like my father, he was gone most of the year when I was growing up.
This affection flows freely at first, but once they've successfully lured in their targets, cult leaders begin to withhold it, attaching specific conditions to their love. The goal, apparently, is to reach a point where the leaders reward only those who follow orders precisely, using love and affection as their ultimate control tools.
It's a process. She understands that it impacted her and that she's not broken, but she's not unscathed either.
Number 7. Isolation and social conditioning.
For example, in the Waco Davidians, the extreme demands of the group required David Koresh to create extreme isolation.
One effective way to convince someone of your point of view is by preventing any chance for dissent or scrutiny. Cult leaders tend to achieve this by isolating new converts and encouraging them to completely sever ties with their friends and families. Sometimes this isolation is systemic, with all members being relocated to a completely new environment to live together, as seen in the case of the Branch Davidians.
The members could not visit their families. They could not leave the compound alone. There were only 2 phones in the compound, both controlled by David Koresh.
Once this is achieved, leaders then foster an us versus them mentality, convincing followers that they are superior to those outside the group. They also filter the information that reaches the group, ensuring that only the cult's teachings are accepted as truth. This creates a long-lasting dependence among their members.
Over a period of time, they become so isolated and dependent upon the leader to determine what is real and what is not, This is the key to their control.
Number 6, paranoia.
It's also important to talk about the sickness of the people. However it happened, there's a sickness. You know, Jim Jones by himself can't kill 913 people.
This is another common tactic cult leaders use to instill irrational fear in new members. They start by painting the outside world as dangerous and hostile, suggesting that their families or the government pose significant threats. Then they present the cult as the only safe haven.
If you believe in me, I will cause the kingdoms of this racist society to become the kingdoms of socialistic freedom. I will cause your desert to blossom as a rose.
For example, Jim Jones of the People's Temple, who suffered from paranoia himself, convinced his followers that government persecution and societal collapse were imminent. Also, the leaders of the Heaven's Gate cult warned of an impending apocalypse and urged people to reject their human nature so they could make it into heaven. These tactics build confidence and trust in the leaders, making it difficult for members to leave the perceived safety of the cult.
It's beautiful to see that all these divisions have been broken down. Just a warm fellowship and acceptance of all people.
Number 5, false sense of purpose and belonging. It's a natural human desire to want your life to have more meaning and to feel like you are part of a monumental cause. Cult leaders understand this all too well, and they take advantage of it by offering new members emotional support, community, and a sense of purpose. As earlier mentioned, they often prey on vulnerable people, especially those who feel isolated or unhappy with their current lives. These cults are then modeled as warm, welcoming environments, offering a family that truly understands and values these individuals. Of course, this is just a smokescreen, but it helps the cult leaders maintain their self-centered image while keeping the new members tethered to them. Number 4, group dynamics and peer pressure. To further strengthen that family image as a tool to attract new members, cults organize certain group activities, rituals, and ceremonies. These include, but are not limited to, chanting, singing, and meditation sessions. Some cults also set up communal living arrangements, which to an outsider may appear to emphasize solidarity within the group. In these settings, new members may begin to feel pressured to conform to everyone else's behavior, so they can not only gain the approval of their peers, but also that of the top-ranking leaders. Additionally, in some cults, such as the Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints, members adopt identical clothes and hairstyles, causing their individual identities to blend even more into the group's collective image. Number 3, gaslighting.
Have you ever heard a lie so unrealistic that it seems improbable someone would actually use it? So improbable that you start wondering maybe you're missing something.
Once cult leaders start attracting followers, they need a way to keep them under their control. One method by which they achieve this is feeding them with so much bogus and contradictory information that they begin to question their own reality. The leaders initially shower these recruits with love and attention.
Gaslighting hasn't been studied extensively, and we don't fully understand what drives this behavior. But we can take a look at its components: compulsive lying and intolerance for opposition.
But over time, the affection could be withdrawn, making newcomers feel like they are doing something wrong and they need to go out of their way to regain the leader's love. This constant manipulation can make members dependent on the cult for validation, trapping them in a cycle of control and exploitation.
But if you know what red flags to look for, you can try to avoid falling into some traps.
Number 2, fear and shame.
You're going to be left in a ditch. You said all these horrible things about what would happen to me if I left because the world was such an evil place.
As soon as the initial love bombing fades, cult members begin to instill fear in their members. At first, this may be a fear of being ostracized from the group, which has now become their safe haven. Gradually, it escalates to the threat of punishment. Many cult leaders have been known to physically and sexually assault erring members, using this as a powerful tool to discourage dissent. Another tactic they employ is public shaming. By humiliating members in front of the group, they're able to create an environment rife with guilt and submission.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Number 1, self-incrimination.
As intolerable as that is, the case has also exposed the extraordinary tactics the church used to protect its star recruit and how it cruelly attempted to silence his victims.
Certain cults go beyond just emotional and psychological manipulation, seeking more tangible ways to wield control over their followers. As a result, they encourage members to reveal their deepest secrets and wrongdoings, which are then used against them if they try to exit the group. For instance, the Church of Scientology carries out a practice called auditing, where members share personal details which are then permanently recorded and stored.
Danny Masterson was preying on Scientologist women, in part because he knew the church would protect him.
Similarly, NXIVM had members write damaging letters about themselves and share compromising pictures, which they kept as collateral for their commitment. All of this information is ultimately used as leverage to ensure loyalty and keep members trapped within the cults.
There's a really a strong misogynistic undertone to NXIVM, that people are taught about these inherent differences between men and women, and one of those elements is that men are naturally polyamorous.
Have you ever had any experience with cult leaders and their recruiters? Share them with us in the comments below.
He literally put bounties on the heads of celebrities and asked his members to bring them in.
Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.